I came to New Haven, Connecticut for a rare public event at a secret club, the local Masonic Lodge, which holds some hidden history. Ann Robinson has chronicled Black history here for 40 years. Today she is celebrating a college scholarship won by a local teenager and the legacy of lawyer George Crawford. Crawford's Fraternal Lodge is on the Connecticut Freedom Trail. Today it opens its doors to New Haven's Arts and Ideas Festival.
Hello everybody. Major institution in the city of New Haven that has been formally included in the International Festival of the Arts.
The George Crawford story goes back to 1901. Booker T. Washington came to Yale to receive an honorary degree along with President Teddy Roosevelt. George Crawford was a young hopeful in the crowd, one of Yale's first black law students. In the brutal segregation of Alabama, Crawford had studied with Washington, who was like a father to him. Here, Washington was being honored alongside the U.S. President, but he couldn't speak to Roosevelt publicly for fear of provoking a violent outcry. Privately, Roosevelt sought Washington's advice. Both men were Freemasons from two separate orders. Black Americans created their own Masonic group in the 1780s, led by a man named Prince Hall. Prince Hall Masonic lodges spread across America, growing leaders of color. Graduating from Yale, Crawford said, 70% of the people in Alabama's criminal system are black. White lawyers are taking their money to defend them. Maybe I can do a little more for it. Crawford settled here in New Haven and lived here on Orchard Street most of his life, a black lawyer fighting injustice. Yet it's still not a good address in this town. Over near the Yale Hospital is where you find a clue that George Crawford ever lived. Crawford Manor, a home for low income and the elderly. When the housing project was dedicated, Crawford looked on while the NAACP's Roy Wilkins praised him. Wilkins said that inasmuch as minorities now enjoy equal treatment, they owe to the vision, hard work, and achievement of George Crawford. But later Crawford was remembered only by his fellow Freemasons at the Masonic Lodge, and like most Masonic groups, they kept quiet. Their silence changed. Now, the hand that Crawford and other black Masons played in achieving freedom and equality is finally coming to light. Crawford wrote a play that hailed Prince Hall as a great man left out of history books. Hall opens the lodge saying, "Behold, I have opened a door for you which no man can shut." This lodge was where W.E.B. Du Bois became a Mason, because of George Crawford. Du Bois pushed harder for equality than Booker Washington had. In 1905, he gathered black leaders at Niagara Falls and launched the Niagara Movement. The Niagara Movement paved the way for the Civil Rights Movement and Thurgood Marshall's victory at the Supreme Court for equal education. George Crawford was there from Niagara on. Crawford was a black lawyer and Masonic leader when that was dangerous. He traveled south in segregated rail cars and made his cases. Crawford said, "The more learning spreads among Negroes, the more sensitive will they become to the inconsistencies of our democracy. As to whether America really means opportunity, the next generation of blacks will surely find out."
We received a postcard about this college called Bard College up in Great Barrington, the home of W.E.B. Du Bois.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You have my word, this will be brief. I want to thank Dr. Robinson and the Little Red Brick Schoolhouse Museum for honoring me this afternoon. We all should remember that there was a time, not so long ago, when it was a crime, in some instances punishable by death, for a black person to learn to read and write. That alone should serve as our collective inspiration to be the best we can be in the classroom.
Constance Baker Motley, NAACP lawyer and later federal judge, knew George Crawford and studied at Malcolm's High School. She called it a discovery of herself. She found her interest in black history there and the law. She began reading books by Du Bois and took up the cause of equality.
So why do you think boys seem to be less successful in high school than girls?
Oh, we have the girls to distract us.
You have done a wonderful job for the Prince Hall Masons. Thank you, Malcolm. And let's get to those things. Just was elevated to being the incoming presiding judge.
You know that saying we all say, the family that prays together stays together?
Well, I heard a new one.
I heard the family that reads together
Yes.
succeeds together.
When the Supreme Court ruled for equality in 1954, Du Bois was stunned by what his protégés had achieved. He wrote, "I believe in the devil and his angels, who work to narrow the opportunity of struggling human beings, especially if they be black. Most of all, I believe in the Negro race, in the beauty of its genius, the sweetness of its soul, and its strength."